Hello, fellow Arisen. Your average shotgun here with not a boss fight tutorial for the Sorcerer, but I just wanted to go over the build for not only myself, but also my pawn. My pawn and I have two very different builds. She focuses more on being highly destructive, and I kind of have a more jack of all trades spell lineup. So first, I'll go over our equipment and then our spell lineup. Starting off with me. I'm just gonna say this right now. We both have the Sanguine Stalk, most powerful arch staff in the game. Unless you count technicalities such as a fully charged, fully upgraded Caged Fury, or something along those lines. Next, this is really the only good headpiece I have for my character specifically, but the enhancement I got on it was very good. I could not ignore it. And that would be the Carrion Veil. So, some people may not know this, but it says extends duration of equipped skills. I did a little digging on the wiki, and that actually means it makes certain spells last longer, such as sigils, and also spells like High Miasma. And if you've seen my fight against a Dark Bishop, that is extremely powerful. I love this bonus enhancement. I think I got very lucky. Only sad part is, I think I did a good job in terms of my character's looks, so it's a bittersweet victory. Next, I'm wearing a hard leather plate. This was more personal than anything. You can switch this out with whatever you want. I just noticed that I was a little lacking in those elemental resistances. Excuse me. But another reason I like to wear it is because personally I don't like the way the Arisen scar looks, so I just wanted something to cover it up, and this does a very good job. Next, Cursed King's Belt. To the veterans of the game, you should know what this does. It increases your ability to stagger and knock down. So I really just prefer this, since getting a knockdown with a sorcerer can be one of the most exploitatious things that you ever do. Plus, you can stack this with, I can't remember the name of the augment off the top of my head, but there's an augment that makes it easier to knock down opponents with your spells cast. So that's why I personally preferred the Cursed King's Belt. I know most people would have gone for Carrion or Grave Mantles, but this was just my personal preference. Speaking of Carrion, got the Carrion Claws. Very powerful, restores stamina whenever I kill something. enough said. The carrion set's the strongest in the game for sorcerers. Plus, it just looks awesome. Silk tights. Again, this is kind of overkill, but also necessary. As a sorcerer, you never want to get silenced or skill stifled. So that's why I originally wore these. I actually wore these and the cloak that I currently have on before most other things I'm currently wearing. Plus, it's got, in terms of clothing anyway, some of the best defenses in the game. And it also kind of matches my character's look. Not completely, I know, but close enough. Grave Greaves, I know, not carrion, but I make do. Plus, I really needed the enhancement that came on this particular set of Grave Greaves, which is increased carrying capacity. In future boss deleting videos, you'll definitely be seeing how that helps me immensely. Then my cloak, the Wormhunt mantle, almost exactly the same as the silk tights, though it comes with blindness resistance instead of silencing resistance, and also comes with fire resistance. Very good fire resistance at that. And honestly, it's one of the best looking cloaks in the game. Just my personal opinion. The fact that you can buy this so early in the game is also pretty ridiculous too. Then my rings. I wear the Ring of Desiccation as a sort of other complete debilitation immunity, which would be the Drenched debilitation. If you get inflicted with that, normally you take more damage from ice and lightning attacks. And also, if you go too deep into the water, your lantern would go out should you have it active, but the Ring of Desiccation prevents all that. So I don't worry. And my Master Ring, this was a very lucky find. So, magic boosting, I believe, goes up to 100. And knockdown power, I think, goes up to 50. I could be wrong. But still, the fact that I got 86 magic boost and 34 additional knockdown power, stacking with the Cursed King's Belt, and that one augment that I can't remember the name of, and that's going to bother me a little bit, but I'll get over it. That's a lot of chance for a knockdown. It's ridiculously helpful. And yeah, that's all my gear. So, for what it is, I actually look pretty good. And now, for my pawn. Again, she's got the Sanguine Stalk too, so not much needs to be said. I think I did a pretty good job with her. Her headpiece, the Ancient Circlet. Yes, it doesn't give her any elemental resistances, but gives a ton of very good debilitation resistances. Plus, again, you can buy it as soon as you get to Grand Soren, which is really overpowered. Oh yeah, and in terms of my pawn too, I think I did a pretty good job making her as well. Like, just with the hairstyle, face structure, just everything like that. And the gear only made it better. Anyways, moving on. Yes, I know this isn't fully upgraded, but frost worms are a little bit of a pain to find, and I know I need frost worm material to fully upgrade this. But I have her wearing the abyssinal outfit. That way she doesn't get cursed or petrified, and it's got some decent elemental resistances, especially in a place like Bitter Black Isle. And this is personally one of my favorite pieces of clothing in the entire game. I know it's not a carrion mantle, but it has the enhancement that I wanted her to have. I know I said that her spell lineup focuses mostly on just doing damage. Like 5 out of 6 of her spells are attack spells. But her gear also allows her to be a decent support. Obviously not the best, but decent. And this grave mantle is the best possible for... Oh my god, excuse me again. Best possible for that. Because it just self-regenerates her health. And is the stronger enhancement. There's one that says it gradually restores small amounts. That's the one you don't want. This is the one you do want. She's got the carrion claws, same exact ones as me. She gets stamina whenever she gets killed. Wow, whenever she gets killed. Whenever she kills things. I cannot talk today. Next, I used the leather bandings because it covers a debilitation that I felt needed to be covered. And I know they're weak, but again, it's mostly for the debilitation. Skill stifling, you don't want that. And also, she's a sorcerer. She's going to have to stay in place for some of her stuff. So if she gets torpid, that just makes the spell casting last even longer than it really should. So I just felt like this was a very good choice for what it is. And it actually looks decent with the rest of the gear she has too. Does it look the best? No, but it is what it is. Same deal. I know it's not the carrion, but she doesn't have the same enhancement on these as I do. But still, this was the enhancement I wanted her to have. And that's wind staggering prevention. And then for her cloak is a rather interesting choice. The Magnanimous Cloak. I chose it because it's okay in terms of defenses. I know it's not the best, but as far as debilitation resistances go, they're really good. And the fact that if she uses curatives, I know for a fact when I was looking at the magnanimous cloak on the wiki, it says that curatives that affect the entire party anyway don't work with the magnanimous cloak. Makes sense. But there's a theory I want to test with this. I just haven't been able to get around to it yet, and that theory is, like, what if she uses something that cures a specific debilitation, or something that like increases her attack or something like that. Would that spread to the rest of the party as well, or is it only specifically curatives that affect only health and stamina? The wiki did not go that in depth, so I'm willing to test it. I haven't gotten around to it. Plus the magnanimous cloak, it looks amazing with this, I'm not gonna lie. And yes, I do realize her hair is clipping through the cloak, but can't do anything about that. As for her rings, I went a little overkill, I'm not gonna lie, but I also don't regret it. She has the Dragon Blood ring. Gives a 25% resistance to almost all debilitation resistances in the game. There's actually a very easy way to get the Dragon Blood ring, and I believe it's in pre-Daimon only. If you go to the Black Abbey with a fiend luring incense, keep going in and out of the abbey until you get the enemy horde that has 5 Garms, 5 Hellhounds, and 5 Wargs. And then to veterans of the game, you'll know where this is going already. Run down the stairs. You'll see a kind of sort of railing-like structure you can climb on. Hang off the edge of that. All the Garm will come right after you and fall into the abyss, killing themselves. Same thing with the Wargs and Hellhounds sometimes. If you're really, really patient, then yes, eventually, all of them will commit suicide like that. And that'll leave you free to farm the chest that has the chance to give the Dragon Blood ring. And you don't even need the Godsbane for this, because there's an abyss directly behind the chest. So just save right in front of the unopened chest. Make sure it's unopened. Then save. If you don't get this ring, then just go into the abyss, die, hit retry, keep going, and eventually you'll get the Dragon Blood ring. That's the easy way to do it. I'm definitely not doing the hard way for this because I am not spending hours and hours of my time farming one chest in the Everfall that could contain, I think it's like 8 different items, and this being only one, with a 2% drop rate. I don't like those odds. The Black Abbey method I just described, much better. As for the second ring, to those who are veterans of the game, you'll know where this is going already. She's got a Sorcerer's Band, a very good one too. I got very lucky with this. And it allows her Bolide and Giesel spells, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, to have a third tier of charge, making them even more powerful than they already were. And that's all the gear for my pawn, plus a few of her spells. Now, for the fun stuff, the stats, spells, etc. Starting with myself, of course. Sorcerers aren't going to have the greatest stamina or HP, but the payoff is worth it. This is the amount of magic attack I managed to get myself. I know this can go much, much higher. I believe the maximum possible in this game is 5,100. And then you can see my stagger and knockdown power is very high. I love the Cursed King's Belt. My defenses, I feel like, are pretty typical for a sorcerer. I only resist what's necessary for the most part, though my elemental resistance is much more widespread versus my pawns. Scroll through this as slowly as I can for you guys. Back up, also kind of slow. And yeah, those are my defenses. I'm very hard to shut down, and you can't stop me from casting. Now on to the good stuff. The enabled skills. High Maelstrom. If you're playing a sorcerer and don't have this spell, you're not playing it correctly. Plus, who doesn't want to conjure Giant Tornado? I feel like the spell is a no-brainer because of so many reasons. It can send smaller enemies flying high into the air, so even if they do survive the initial tornado, the fall damage will finish them off. Small and medium enemies will get sucked into the tornado. And this tornado moves around kind of erratically, so it can suck in even enemies that weren't initially near it enough, I guess is the way to word that. So yeah, High Maelstrom is just ridiculous. I know it's a dark spell, and almost every enemy in Bitter Black Isle is gonna resist dark, but It really doesn't seem like a dark spell considering how much damage I've seen it do, even to the enemies who are very resistant to dark element. Hi Giesel. I really like this spell because of the hidden fact that it does actually deal some physical damage. So if you're up against something like, let's say a metal golem, you can actually use this to break all the talismans and kill the golem. Another good idea is not only does this suck in enemies, but this can suck in objects such as the talismans too. So you can use High Maelstrom, suck in all the talismans into one location, then use High Giesel to basically hit multiple talismans at once. Will you hit everyone? Probably not. I wouldn't count on it. If you did, then you got lucky with the Maelstrom. Nice one. Congrats. High Fulmination, I don't use this for what you think I use it for. I mostly use this for enemies that can block. Essentially, if something's in my way and I know it can block, ordinarily the game's AI will always make it block against attacks first. And this is especially true with the living armor. So I cast this, the AI is saying, oh no, I have to block this. But the thing is, Fulmination, it's continuous so long as I have the right amount of stamina anyway. And you can essentially just walk right past whatever's blocking Fulmination and be on your merry way. Literally cheesing the game's own AI. That's why I've got that. Plus, obviously this can make like a lightning aura around all your pawns. So if you have like a melee based pawn, so either one of the actual melee classes or one of the bow classes, if they're climbing an enemy and you choose to use the aura function, that's going to be continuous lightning damage right there, which is also very helpful. Like, I don't see a reason not to use High Fulmination. Next, High Miasma, the Dark Bishop Killer. I know it may not sound very helpful, being only a cloud that can cause poison. But the thing is, for some reason, the lingering effect is much more powerful than it should be. And I don't mean the poison, I mean just the continuous damage buildup that would ordinarily lead to poison. I know the bigger enemies are going to be immune to poison, but for some reason High Miasma's lingering damage is way more powerful than it really should be. And the spell in particular, you are going to thank me for this little tip. So ordinarily sorcerers would have a heck of a time trying to finish off a Thunder Wyvern or Fire Drake, whatever. Since High Miasma, the the reticle for it, for where you want to cast it, appears typically on an enemy's body. You can make it so it appears on whatever dragon's heart, and high miasma would be your killing blow. And I'm pretty sure it works on every dragonkin, including the cursed dragons. I haven't actually tested against the cursed dragons, but against the other ones I know it works. Holy Affinity, if you saw my fights against the Gazer and Dark Bishop, you'll know why I had this. I enchant my own staff and use Holy Focus Bolt with it. To veterans of the game, you know what that is. Then High Combustion, I just needed another quick casting spell. Like, all my primaries, they're the slow casts. So I decided to make all my secondaries my quick casting spells. Since I know some enemies are just relentless and you're not going to have time to fully charge every spell. And High Combustion, I don't really see it as a firewall until after its initial casting animation. During its initial casting animation, I see it more like a fire spike. Because the initial casting animation, like, I've knocked down a lot of large enemies with it, and also sent a couple of hordes of smaller enemies flying into the air with it. So it's definitely got, like, from the ground up spike kind of an effect. Plus, the sigil for it can be cast anywhere. Like, it moves around just like with the sigil for High Maelstrom. It's just the range isn't as big, but still there's some very problematic enemies in Bitter Black Isle that are weak to fire. This is especially so with cursed dragons. Like, I use this to finish off cursed dragons all the time. And that does it for my spells. Core skills, I shouldn't need to explain these. Just get them and they'll help. And now for my augments. I have a pretty obvious augment lineup. Attunement, this gives, I think, 10% more magic attack. Autonomy, when I'm alone, it increases everything. So yes, I do get significantly more powerful without my pawn. Articulacy just makes casting time go by faster. I think this gives 20% more magic attack. Ferocity, this is specifically for Holy Focus Bolt. And it increases the power of it by, I believe, 20%. And then Sinew stacks with my Graves that increase my item carrying capacity. Just a very basic augment lineup. Nothing too fancy or flashy. Except maybe Ferocity, but other than that, it's nothing special. but still ridiculously powerful. Next up, my pawn. You'll see the difference between me and her very easily once I show all the stats. Oops. Yeah, somehow she got more health than me, but somehow less stamina. I don't know how that happened. She's got a decent amount of magic attack, or I'd like to think that's a decent amount for what she is. Obviously, her stagger and knockdown power aren't going to be nearly as strong as mine, but that's okay because I think most of her spells can stagger and knock down anyway because of how hard they hit. Again, pretty basic defenses for a sorcerer, and she doesn't have resistance to every element in the game, but the 3 that she does have resistance to are very high, but that's not where she shines. Where she shines, bit of a tongue twister, is how ridiculous her debilitation resistances are. I'll try and go as slow as I possibly can. But yeah, there is no stopping her. I believe she's resistant to almost every debilitation in the game except for drenching. And obviously she's not wearing the Ring of Desiccation, but it's not like she particularly needs it. Oh, now on to the real fun. Very strong. And another thing about her spell lineup is obviously she's going to spell sync with you if you happen to be a sorcerer. And I think I picked the 3 most popular archmagic spells in the entire game, so she can definitely cater to your destructive tendencies, for sure. Especially since, as I said earlier, she's got the 3rd charge on Giesel and Bolide. So it's going to be raining meteors for a while. There's going to be a hell of a lot more ice spires just stabbing enemies. And then she's got Maelstrom for double the tornado fun. Now here's something you definitely would never see on a sorcerer, but there's actually a reason I particularly used it. So, with this being revealed, I kind of made a hybrid between highly destructive, yet somewhat supportive. I know it's not the best support spell, but the thing is, I know there's a lot of assassins out there. You know who you are. And they have a particular, I believe it's a shield skill, called Showdown. and it increases their attack, but decreases their defenses. And I read on the wiki that High Void Spell, if you do this, the pawn will absolutely prioritize curing your defense down. So you essentially got a free attack buff. Plus you can stack 4 Conqueror's Periaps on top of that. So you're going to be dealing a lot of damage. If you're an assassin, so this caters to assassins. Obviously, I don't like the petrification, debilitation, and I know her and I aren't fully immune to it, so that's another use. But yeah, assassins rejoice, basically. And then, since I like to make sure when dealing with magic there's at least a few quick casts, her quick casts, as I like to call them anyway. Basically, they're mage level spells, everyone knows. Her 2 quick casts cover the elements I couldn't. With High Commission, I do cover fire. Yeah, with Holy Affinity, I cover Holy. And then I also cover Dark with High Miasma. So she covers the fact that I wasn't able to do quick cast Lightning and Ice. Plus, having that platform for a little bit, you never know when that's going to come in handy. So, even more support coming from a sorcerer of all classes. Core skills, again, I don't need to explain them. Her augments aren't exactly the same as mine, but that's a given since she's a pawn. So, 20% increase in magic, faster casting. Oh, this was the augment I couldn't remember earlier. I don't use this augment because I feel like I'm doing enough knockdown power. Just my personal opinion. Efficacy, this is actually an augment I haven't gotten to test either. So the Magnanimous Cloak, like I said, if she consumes something that heals her health, it gets passed along to the entire party. So another theory I want to test is if efficacy increases the potency of health healing curatives she uses, would that same increased potency apply to the entire party? I really want to know because I didn't see anything about it on the wiki. Maybe I overlooked something. I don't know. But either way, I want to find out. I just needed a good enough fight in order to find out. And then 10% magic attack boost, and she can carry more stuff too. So yeah, it's a hybrid, highly destructive, yet pretty damn supportive sorcerer. So, I just wanted to get this out of the way because I feel kind of bad that I didn't make this video before the Gazer and Dark Bishop boss deleting fights. So, I really hope you enjoyed this. I hope my theories make sense. And also all my gear choices make sense, give you tips, all the good stuff. And hopefully my pawn and I look really good. But that'll do it for this build showcase of both my pawn and myself. If you want to hire her, go right ahead. She's openly available. And that'll do it for this build showcase. This is your average shotgun signing off, and I will see you in the next Sorcerer guide.